Have you ever been disappointed when God did not show up in the way that you expected? I know that most people don't think it's Christian to be disappointed in God, or maybe you think it shows a lack of faith. But disappointment and frustration are a part of learning the true nature of faith. I have had big, bold prayers go unanswered. I've had dreams crushed, and I've seen what I thought was God's will go unfulfilled. I've had to undertake the difficult task of reconciling what I believed about God with the reality of what was happening in my life. So I get it. It's okay to be disappointed that God didn't answer your prayer or heal your loved one or take away your hurt. It's okay to wish things had turned out differently. Disappointment in life can come in a lot of different ways. Whether it's unanswered prayers, the death of a dream, the end of a relationship, hurt by the church, loss of a loved one, I'm pretty sure you could add your own to the list. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to be hurt, frustrated, or even angry. It's just not okay to let those feelings go unprocessed and rot your faith. Like any relationship, if you don't bring your frustration and your hurt into the conversation, you're gonna leave feeling cut off and bitter. Overcoming disappointment in God isn't a one-size-fits-all process. Everyone's journey is different, but ultimately, you have to let go of what you think God should do and start paying attention to what He is actually doing. In fact, be true to yourself and admit that you have been disappointed. In the 11th chapter of the Gospel according to John, Jesus is told that his good friend Lazarus is sick and dying. Lazarus' sisters Mary and Martha had sent a word to Jesus to come quickly, and they sent for him under the assumption that since he healed countless other sick people, he would also heal Lazarus. Mary and Martha were friends of Jesus and personally supported him and his mission. But for some inexplicable reasons, Jesus chooses not to go to his friend. He even seems to brush off concerns about Lazarus' condition, and he says, "This sickness will not end in death." And guess what happened? Lazarus died. By the time Jesus and his disciples make it out of town to where the family lives, Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. Mary and Martha are not only mourning the loss of their brother, but also dealing with their disappointment in Jesus for failing to meet their expectations. Jesus' interaction with the sisters gives us a powerful framework for dealing with and overcoming disappointments. It's almost like Jesus tells them that I'm going to use disappointment to encapsulate any and all emotions that you may feel, including anger, hurt, frustration, hopelessness, name it. Here is how the story plays out and what we can learn from it to overcome disappointment. Admit that you were disappointed. That's one lesson. "Lord," Martha said to Jesus, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died." This might seem obvious, but we cannot overcome disappointment with God if we do not admit it to ourselves and to Him. You may be tempted to override your emotions by saying, "God has a plan, I just don't know what it is," or saying, "When God closes a door, He opens a window." But if we don't actually admit that we are disappointed and hurt and frustrated, those cliches are like putting a band-aid over a severed limb. They really don't help at all. Admitting that we may feel disappointed in God can be hard and uncomfortable for some people, but is a necessary first step to overcoming a major obstacle to our faith. Martha believed that if only Jesus had acted earlier, He could have changed the whole situation. A lot of us feel something very similar. If you're like Martha, and if you have an "if only" in your heart or mind right now, put yourself in Martha's shoes. Run off to meet Jesus. Tell Him the problem. Ask Him why He didn't come sooner, why He allowed the awful things to happen. It doesn't show a lack of faith to admit that you are disappointed with God. In fact, it shows faith that you can move forward. Don't be shy. Let your frustration fly up in the air so that you can clear it and make room for something new. Pray it out, write it out, talk it out, do whatever you need to release that disappointment. Again, beloved, take God to the place of your pain. "Where have you laid Him?" Jesus asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. When we admit our disappointment to God, it's important to be specific. Not just, "God, I'm disappointed that He broke up with me." It should be more along the lines of, "I'm disappointed that He broke up with me. I and that I prayed to you to send him to me, and everyone thought that we were perfect for each other. And now my life is over. Now, take a deep breath. This level of specificity helps you understand exactly why you're upset. It might take a little digging to get down to the bottom of it. Have you ever been so frustrated with someone, but you didn't really know why you were frustrated? You just know that you don't want to be with them anymore. The problem never gets better until you can specifically articulate what upsets you. Jesus could have stayed where he was and raised Lazarus from the dead, but he asked to be taken to the specific location of Lazarus' body so that the people with him could see him speak to a specific situation. It was the place of Mary and Martha's greatest pain that Jesus performed his greatest miracle. Shift your perspective. Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" Believe what exactly? At this point in the narrative, Jesus, Mary, and Martha had gone to the cave where Lazarus was buried. Mary and Martha are still disappointed and wondering how Jesus could possibly do anything about the situation. When Jesus asked the sisters again if they believe, he is referencing a statement that he made earlier in verses 23 to 25. When Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Then Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." And Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die." Do you believe this? Jesus asked Martha to look beyond her disappointment and be open to possibilities beyond what she could immediately see. This is the hardest part. It feels good for a while to hold on to disappointment. You get a sense of power from being the victim. God, you let me down when I needed you the most. How could I ever trust you again? But here's the thing. Walking away from faith just because you are disappointed or hurt is based entirely on ego. It's a sense of entitlement that says, "God, if you don't walk in exactly the way I expect, it must mean that you don't love me." Jesus called Mary and Martha to shift their perspective on what it means for God to act. Nobody expected Jesus to raise a man from the dead. They expected him to walk while Lazarus was still alive. But Jesus had something else in mind. He chose instead to walk when his friends were past all hope, to show them that even when everything seems lost, resurrection is still a possibility. So it's no coincidence that he resurrected Lazarus right before his own death. Who would have ever expected what God was about to do? Beloved, I want to end by saying that your disappointment is not your destination. Did you hear me? I must say it again. Your disappointment is not your destination. Your story is not over, and the last words have not been spoken over your life yet. Faith always calls us forward. We have to be willing to walk through our disappointment by releasing how we think God should walk and embrace how He is walking. God bless you.